I've never heard you say one thing bad about Jay-Z, not one.
He's not in the room. You shouldn't talk about him.
Don't tell me what to do.
You said you shouldn't talk about men
Now
when they're not in the room.
You're interrupting me.
Now you're doing the girl stuff.
I know him. I'm giving you an example, right?
You used to know him.
Can I talk?
Charlamagne Tha God walked out of the Breakfast Club studio this morning, and by noon, he was officially finished. His reputation in ruins, the king of hip-hop radio dethroned overnight. The fallout was instant. Sources close to the show say management at Power 105.1 pulled the plug on Charlamagne hours after that savage all-gloves-off interview with Dame Dash. This was not a friendly exit. But network bosses didn't just yank his seat. They made it public, sending a clear signal to the industry that the days of untouchable radio titans are over. And it didn't stop with a press release. Within minutes of the announcement, a crew member was overheard telling a guest, "They finally did it. He's out. They couldn't protect him after this." Advertisers started making calls, with 2 national sponsors reportedly pressing for distance. Their brands too valuable to risk collateral splash from what one described as the most reckless broadcast of the year.
That's where we're different. We got different trauma. So you can't really look through my eyes because you do things
bother
different.
You that much?
No, do I look bothered?
Yeah.
I'm bothered
Actually, you do.
What I'm bothered about is you're speaking in front of people confidently and you don't have the experience or the knowledge. And also, I'm afraid that white people think that we act like you.
The trigger? The Dame Dash interview that detonated live on air just after 9 a.m. Tuesday on The Breakfast Club, the iHeartRadio flagship that turned Charlamagne into a household name, and now his public gallows. The segment spiraled fast, even for a show built on controlled chaos. Dash didn't just question his credibility, he hammered it flat. "I would advise you not to make up phony sources without real names, saying that anything I said was not true, or we will have a legal problem," Dame barked on Instagram, minutes after storming out. On tape, he leaned across the table and accused Charlamagne of hiding allegiances, mocking his masculinity, and even suggesting a years-long secret connection to some of hip-hop's most powerful men. The panel looked stunned. Laura LaRosa, caught mid-eye roll, turned to her phone before the segment ended, texting a producer, "We're about to trend for all the wrong reasons." Within an hour, the executive suite was already drafting the suspension memo, and by lunchtime, Charlamagne's face was off the website. The first major advertiser dropped by 3 p.m.
Right, because when you say kids, I was like, and it ain't no disrespect, but I kind of think you're gay. You just act a little gay.
Got a problem with gay people?
Not at all. I've got a problem with people that pretend they're not gay.
Backstage, the real carnage played out after the lights went down. According to a producer present for the fallout, Charlamagne lingered near the green room, then bolted out a side door. What happened next is the stuff of industry legend. Several co-hosts, a senior engineer, and a pair of interns, thinking no one was recording, roasted him out loud. "He's finished," said one, before another added, "He was loyal to the wrong people. Now look." It wasn't mild. A former road manager who claims to have heard audio from inside the staff corridor insists, "You'd think it was a roast, not a breakdown." They laughed. They called him an embarrassment to the brand. For years, The Breakfast Club projected unity on air, but after today's onslaught, even that tissue-thin loyalty crumpled like a script in a trash can. If the power brokers at iHeart needed an excuse, they just got their golden ticket served up hot, with gossip for garnish. As by 4 o'clock, a junior exec at the station was heard telling friends, "He's not coming back from this. Nobody survives this kind of mutiny."
And I'm not saying that's your way, but you're just not masculine. I've seen him run. I looked at a whole reel of, there's like a thing that says how many people bark. There's stuff that how many times you talk about other people's genitals.
But the real danger isn't what was said face to face, it's what might be on tape. Rumors now swirl of backstage betrayal tape, audio that could leak at any time, allegedly capturing Charlamagne's former allies laughing and ripping him to pieces after the feed cut. 3 label veterans whisper that such a clip would finish off whatever is left of his reputation in urban media, and there's already buzz in PR circles about crisis plans. iHeartRadio hasn't commented on the existence of such recordings, but inside sources say legal is already working overtime, prepping for the possibility that these tapes hit a blog or rival platform. Imagine if the world heard what his so-called friends were saying about him when they thought nobody was listening. For Charlamagne, whose entire persona was built on outlasting drama, this is a different beast, a scandal with teeth, timed perfectly to the hour of his greatest humiliation. And just as the rumors reached fever pitch, Dame Dash poured gasoline on the fire. Hours after the interview, Dame took to Instagram with a direct warning, not just to Charlamagne, but to anyone who might defend him. "Don't try to compromise my reputation. I have proof to support everything I say that will stand up in any court," Dash declared, turning the threat into a rallying cry for industry players who have long suspected deeper connections. Insiders from Roc Nation and 2 other major labels say Dame is holding real receipts hinting at evidence that ties Charlamagne to a decade of back-channel alliances with famous male rappers, details that if made public could blow open long-whispered rumors and shatter more than just his career. It's not just about a job or a bad week on social media. It's set to outgrow the Breakfast Club, threatening to pull in names nobody expected.
For me, it's like this with this particular situation, because I'm cool with Steve, but Dame's my big bro at the same time. So to me, it's like this. Whenever Dame does an interview, you know about 90% of the time, Jay-Z's name is going to get brought up. And it seems like Dame is just always saying something negative or something not positive about Jay-Z.
Insiders close to the Breakfast Club don't buy the coincidence theory when it comes to Charlamagne's legendary loyalty to Jay-Z. They claim the man who built a career on taking no prisoners in interviews spent years dodging any real critique of Hov, not because of personal reverence, but because his silence was currency. One veteran PR rep who's worked with Roc Nation since the Blueprint 3 era says, "There's no way it was just about friendship. He was getting favors, perks, special treatment. We've all seen Charlamagne in that Paper Planes shirt, but sources insist it didn't stop at free merch. Over the past 5 years, whispers have grown about Roc Nation envelopes, quiet payments, front row concert seats, exclusive studio visits, flowing through trusted intermediaries. In exchange, absolute radio silence on Jay-Z's missteps. It's the kind of old-school pay-for-play that used to get radio stations rated. But interestingly enough, sneaky reps get to do something else that radio stations rated exclusively. And now, with his empire crumbling, Charlamagne's relationship with Hov looks less like brotherhood and more like a pipeline. The watchdog didn't just go soft. He may have been bought, one comped VIP table at a time."
So let me tell you why.
But what if
Let me tell you why. Let me tell you why.
This is hilarious. I love what you're doing. This is hilarious.
So what I'm saying is, you might, because you started in gossip, which is, is very feminine, and you are acting like, there's some degree of like, you want people to listen to you, and that we want people that represent masculinity, because men need to be doing what they need to do as men. They don't need to be worried about girl stuff.
The stakes here cut deep, not just for one show, but for hip-hop's whole credibility ecosystem. The audience expected honesty, not hush perks, and that makes the betrayal so much sharper. This is the host who grilled artists about their deals, who called out industry games, while playing his own behind the scenes. A former show producer who left the network last spring claims it was common knowledge if Jay-Z was involved, questions got rewritten. That's how Charlamagne kept those access interviews. The network hasn't commented on those claims, but after this week, there's a line of execs wishing they'd paid more attention. The world saw the fallout, but the industry's been watching the slow erosion of trust for years. In an age when transparency is the only armor, even a hint of secret payoffs can turn a celebrated watchdog into just another lapdog bought and paid for. It's not just the money that's changed hands, it's the narrative. Dame Dash knew exactly what he was doing when he set his sights on Charlamagne's masculinity in that now infamous interview. By branding him soft, questioning his street credibility, and floating rumors about hidden connections, Dame wasn't just coming for his ego, he was gunning for his foundation. "I don't think you're the proper representation of the masculine black man," Dame declared, as clips of the exchange racked up views online. In hip-hop, respect is currency. Lose that and you lose the room, no matter how many viral clips you rack up. The calculated smear, replayed on social feeds all week, landed like a strategic airstrike. It wasn't a slip of the tongue, it was a direct assault on Charlamagne's ability to command the room. For a host whose power came from never backing down, being labeled as weak, even indirectly, is a reputational bullet that doesn't come out clean.
Anyway, the difference between you and I don't think you're a proper representation of the masculine black man. You know what I'm saying? I don't think you guys are.
I'm listening. Okay.
One publicist with a decade on the rap beat put it bluntly, Dame played the long game. He attacked the only thing Charlamagne can't defend, his image as a tough guy. And it worked. By the end of the broadcast, Charlamagne was left defending not just his career, but his entire persona. Panel chatter turned overnight, rap blogs, fan podcasts, even old Breakfast Club regulars started piling on. The narrative shifted in hours. He can't come back from this. If Dame drops anything real, he's radioactive, one industry vet texted just before midnight. The story wasn't just about one man's humiliation. It was a full-scale branding collapse. In a business built on bravado, being painted as the softest in the room is career quicksand.
I didn't finish my thought.
Finish
You see what's going on? Now, if I started yelling, they be saying I'm bugging.
Yeah.
But this is, remember I told you, this is how I get triggered. Just let me teach. If you don't know, listen. Listen to the teacher. I'm teaching you right now because this is a business you don't know. You've been in this room for 30 years straight.
15.
So you're missing a lot of life.
Once, Charlamagne's reach inside the culture machine felt untouchable. For over a decade, he was the gatekeeper every artist, manager, and aspiring tastemaker watched. An invitation to the Breakfast Club meant a seat at the grown-ups table, a chance for a viral moment, a new meme, or a public redemption arc. He built his power by mastering both the art of the grilling and the velvet handshake behind the scenes, demanding accountability while dangling access like a carrot. The path to legitimacy ran straight through his studio. Industry insiders still recall the nervous excitement before a booking was locked in, the endless strategizing over how to handle his questions, the cold sweats when rumors swirled that a segment might be scrapped. If an artist fell from his grace, the phones went silent. Suddenly, bookings vanished. PR teams scrambled, and record labels quietly pivoted campaigns. But the pivot from kingmaker to pariah has come at breakneck speed. The same platforms and personalities who once sought his approval now revel in his missteps, dissecting each new development with forensic glee. Even casual listeners sense the shift. Fan forums and social feeds buzz with threads about poetic justice, the taste of revenge against a host who made a career from controversy. There's an irony in the way the industry, famous for protecting its inner circle, now amplifies every unflattering leak. It's as if the entire scene has conspired to prove a point. No one is bigger than the machine, not even the man who thought he operated it.
You can't say things you don't know and sound confident because people listen to you and you get in the algorithm. Do your research before you start spreading things.
What did we say wrong?
Yeah, what did we say wrong?
You said 50 got the rights. You just said it.
No,
I asked you
about
if 50
you-
got
and
the
you-
rights.
This reversal isn't just personal, it's institutional. Syndication partners who previously hung on his every word are now moving quietly, adjusting schedules, tiptoeing around the possibility that the Charlamagne brand could soon be too toxic to touch. Old rivals smell blood in the water. Behind the scenes, those who lost opportunities to his gatekeeping or were cut from crucial interviews find themselves suddenly relevant, fielding calls from the very shows and networks that once shut them out. It's a new economy of access, and Charlamagne's absence has redrawn the map of influence almost overnight. At the core of this transformation is a profound sense of poetic justice, at least for those who felt slighted by his reign. For years, he held the power to shape narratives, ask the uncomfortable questions, and sometimes push struggling artists over the edge. Now, that relentless energy is aimed squarely at him. Commentators, former guests, and sidelined producers who once sat under his glare are wielding the same tactics he pioneered, except this time he's the one under the magnifying glass with nowhere to hide when the questions turn back.
Let's move forward. Let's move with F1
Continue
speed.
on,
Don't
Dave.
pretend to be foolish. You know you're talking to a smart man. You know, you made me forget what I was going to say. See?
You're talking about the movie about
Oh, Godfather.
Correct.
So do you remember he pretended to be weak? His crew was like, yo, why you letting them push and muscle us? And then all of a sudden, he hit the 5 families in one day. He waited for his mother to die, asked his little brother to come to the lake house and popped him.
The psychological toll can't be ignored. Public shaming on this scale is a rare spectacle in hip-hop media, a business that usually prefers its power shifts behind closed doors. Charlamagne, once the architect of so many career resurrections and cancellations, finds himself fighting the tide alone. His disappearance from the public eye is almost as loud as his once booming voice. Even those who never cared for his style admit there's a certain tragedy in watching a man who once orchestrated so many public reckonings, now facing one of his own, with no allies left to run interference. And in the shadows of this downfall, a warning pulses through the ranks of media hopefuls and hungry executives alike. Today's gatekeeper can become tomorrow's outcast. The industry machine is ruthless, and the same spotlight that crowned Charlamagne is now the one exposing every crack in his legacy. As the cycle turns, one thing is clear. The hunger for power comes with an expiration date, and the next chapter belongs to whoever survives the feeding frenzy.
Last time I was here, I said, you don't mess with, that's why I don't be around men. So we all know they betrayed Jesus. I said this.
You walked in here with a man.
Can I finish? Please? Charlamagne?
Stop cutting him off.
Don't you do the therapy thing?
Yeah, but you.
I want you to ask your therapist, do you interrupt people and how problematic that is at this age?
But you said you don't be.
If Dame Dash is bluffing about his so-called evidence, he's playing it like a master. But if he's not, if those files are real, there's a chance this could get nuclear. 3 different insiders who've tangled with Dame before say he doesn't make threats without ammo. One even claims Dash is sitting on a trove of old messages, business emails, even grainy backstage videos tying Charlamagne to a constellation of major names in hip-hop. Nobody outside Dame's tight circle has seen the receipts, but every rumor is a flare. What if those files don't just take down Charlamagne, but also put Jay-Z's inner circle, a handful of platinum-selling artists, and at least 2 rival radio hosts in the blast radius? The real nightmare for iHeartRadio and Rock Nation isn't the fall of one problematic star. It's an accidental mass exposure. The dominoes are lined up. Who else tumbles if Dame decides to go scorched earth? What if those names end up in the headlines before anyone can spin the narrative? Meanwhile, nobody in the upper floors is sleeping easy. One executive with ties to both iHeart and Rock Nation says there are emergency meetings, ND is flying, and a lot of nervous energy. The Breakfast Club brand, already wobbly, is bracing for another jolt. Sponsorship teams are wargaming the fallout. A second senior source inside Power 105.1 said off record, if those files drop, this isn't just a Charlamagne story, it's everybody's problem. We're talking about relationships, contracts, everything. The mere suggestion of a broader conspiracy has already pushed several artists to distance themselves. One even pulled out of a scheduled Breakfast Club appearance, citing unforeseen circumstances. The industry is in wait-and-see mode, but no one's betting on a quiet resolution.
You don't get with that person's children, and you know better than that, so don't act stupid.
If y'all are beefing, then that's something different. If
Are we not beefing?
Are y'all really beefing? No, would you call it beef? You said it's not beef.
Well,
that's your brother.
It's not. I'm not going to get violent. It's definitely like him coming.
All this, and the streets haven't even seen a shred of Dame's promised proof. The speculation is the weapon. Just the idea that there might be tapes, deals, or old messages is enough to spark panic. The tabloids are circling. Social media detectives are already spinning theories, connecting dots, pulling up old Breakfast Club interviews looking for coded moments. The Breakfast Club was once the nerve center of hip-hop culture. Now it's a leak waiting to happen, a stage with the curtains about to rip wide open. The atmosphere right now is pure dread and a strange, electric excitement. Charlamagne's fall is a spectacle, but the real story could be who goes down with him if Dame Dash flips the switch. This isn't just a media takedown, it could be the moment the industry's backroom secrets see daylight. Every player with skeletons is suddenly triple-checking their messages and praying. Dame's bluff is just that, a bluff. If the files drop, every seat at the table gets a little less comfortable. So where does this all lead? Is Charlamagne the victim of a calculated smear campaign, or was he always the puppet who finally got caught with his strings showing? Who else stands to lose if Dame Dash really does have the smoking gun? Let us know what you think in the comments below, because if you thought this story was wild, just wait until the next secret drops. Until then, stay tuned, keep your receipts close, and remember, nobody's safe when the real drama comes knocking.